Hello all and welcome to round 2 of the all hands on deck tourney final here. We saw in the previous match LIMOS take the lead here. Now it's 1-0 in their favor. The teams have switched sides, switched teams, and we have moved on to Tumbleweed. Team 1 ANS now we have LIMOS here, Snipes, Hunter, Herman, and Xenophon. Team 2 OSP is 1-800 Got Hellbombed, consisting of Blackbat, Scrubbus, Flynn, and Duke. Tumbleweed is a very interesting map to play on. It forces teams to play very different comps than you typically see on other maps. 450 and rails are not really as effective on this map just due to there being no long-range sight lines to really make them work. Let's take a look at where the teams are deploying. It looks like 1-800's deploying mostly high throughout this top section of Tumbleweed here. A couple assets low. It would appear that Flynn has forgotten to rename their cap fleet. Yeah, this is Flynn's cap fleet. Flynn names their cap assets after other players, by the way, so I immediately know this is Flynn's fleet. Whoops. Anyway, looks like... Oh, whoa. LIMOS has a lot more assets than 1-800 does, which is typically not common for ANS. Lots of tracks here going in. Looks like we're concentrated in like a diagonal line here. Looks like they're going, yep, we got some assets for E, D, and A here. B point is their natural. Some assets for A here. Testosterone hinders strategy. That is a 450 liner. Yeah, this is definitely Flynn's cap fleet here. Flynn forgetting to name their fleets to keep in line with the theme. Oh, look, it's Duke of Stars. Oh, is that Flynn's icon? No, it's not. That is not Flynn's badge. This may not be Flynn, guys. I may have messed up. Alright, let's take a look at the teams. Oh, it's all Beam DDs! Oh, right. Herman, Beam Destroyer, Beam Destroyer, Beam Destroyer. Spy Frig. Gun Capper, Capper, and Capper. 2 empty Cappers, a Gun Capper, a Spy Frig, and 3 Beamstones. Hunter is running the double levy levy carrier here. No bombers in these things at all. Why would you bring bombers in the current meta? Oh my god. Anyway, here's Snipes running... Is this 4 Beamstones? This is 4 Beamstones. 2 empty Cappers and a police frig. Interesting. And it would appear that Xenophon is also running 4 Beamstones. Oh my god. A empty cap ship, 2 empty cap ships, and a police frig battle group down here. All right. Let's take a look at what 1-800 has brought. Blackbat has the carrier. This is what you'd expect. It has bombers in it? Oh, it has bombers in it. Interesting. Typically don't see that in this current meta. Duke is running 450 liners on Tumble. Okay. Interesting. I guess they outrange beams. Flynn. I was correct. Flynn is running the cap fleet. I knew it. There's Duke of Stars, Scrubby, Blackbat, Stern, Pyrope, and Smolcake. A little sad I didn't get a ship named after me, but whatever. And here's Scrubbus. Scrubbus running the Chargers. Yeah, we have... Whoa, wait, these are not Chargers. What the hell are these things? What am I looking at? Plasma 250 combo... What? This is... These are strange liners. Well, they'll be good in close range, I guess. Very interesting. Anyway, let's take a look at the overall board here. It would appear that Herman is sending a couple empty ships to D point to cap it, being supported by their Spy Frig up here with Elent. It's likely that if this thing has a Huntress, it is already spotted on Elent. Yes, it does. Although this MMT is going to be very deadly against these empty cappers here. A point is... Looks like it's going to be contested by Flynn's 450 liner, one of their MMTs in a cap ship, against a Beamstone, a couple police frigs, and also another Beamstone, because of course a empty capper is going to secure the A point here. We'll see if OSP can deny that. E point has like 3... Is this 4 Beamstones at E? Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, and some cap ships at the E point here. Going up against one of Duke's 450 liners and Scrubbus's really strange liners that I'm unsure of what the idea is. Duke is curiously running the 450 liners dispersed here. Very interesting. All right. Both teams secure their naturals pretty quickly here. Missiles do go out onto the capper here on the D point here, being covered by jamming from the MMT. This thing has no defenders. These are command validated. Those are going to hit. Trying to bow tank. Does bow tank a little bit well here, although it is already under fire from Duke's 450 and Flynn's MMT here. Taking 450 and 100 mil fire from the liner. Duke swapping fire over to the other capper here, recognizing that they need to kill both of them in order to secure the D point here. The Beamstone is in position to deny it if OSP tries to step on and cap it. E points. Looks like both teams are playing passive at E here. E is typically where both teams go on tumble, although this ship is being detected by Duke's Bloodhound tug. It does go dark, meaning that the Bloodhound stops firing. Another missile salvo out on the cappers. These are cork? Okay. D point, it looks like, will be secured by ANS here. It does not look like those missiles are going to land in time. And with that Beamstone there to deny it, that is a very strong position for Limos to be in. Both these cap assets are going to die on the point there, that they do get the point. What's happening down at A? Is this Beamstone in the good spot? Yep. So look at this spot for Beamstones, by the way. The bunker, the pillbox, I believe people call it. Overlooking A, a very strong position, very well defended. Although, yeah, neither team is really committing ships. Although, that being said, Xenophon is sending a capper for the A point here, testing the waters, seeing what OSB has here. There are so many Beamstones spread around the map here from various players. This is going to be a very tough match for 1-800 to dislodge all those ships. Although, that being said, they do not have any, like, very heavy assets here. And with the fleet carrier that Black has, they can potentially snipe off those defending Beamstones. The 8-point camper still undetected here. It is going to go out into the open. I do not know if those... I don't know if that's in range. What is the range here to that MMT? 6 kilometers? This thing should be... Oh, yep, there it goes. Now it's spotted. Flynn does have things in the area. Are they going to try and lock this thing and deny it? We will see if Flynn is quick enough on the draw to deny the point here. Up top, Meteor Squadron fires a bunch of SDMs at Joker Squadron, which is loaded with SAR HS-1s. Joker is forced... Nope, Joker is committing to the strike, unable to evade. They do start taking those, the Naginantas there. Not Naginantas, what are these ones called? Although that being said, a Naginata salvo in return from, whoa, Squadron of 18. These are coil gun, yeah, 12 coil guns. Jumping onto Meteor Squadron. Meteor Squadron immediately takes heavy losses here. That is a lot of craft to lose so quickly. Yep, Meteor Squadron is kind of messed up. Oof, that's a lot of craft dead. Ruby Squadron sorted with S1 SAR 8 strike. It looks like they are going to the A point to deny it from being capped. A point is denied by Flynn here. They do manage to kill the ship on the point here. The police frigs do start moving up, getting into position to potentially deny the A point from any counter-capping attempt. E point. No one is on the E point yet. The liners choosing to hold their range, recognizing that ANS likely has beams in the area. Very interesting match so far. Beams go out into Duke's 450 liner here. They immediately hit the core. The Blackjack absorbing damage, although I think that's the structure absorbing damage. Nope, there it goes into one of the guns. 450 return fire coming out from Duke, though. They need to kill this thing before it gets into cover. Although, it looks like it is going to get into cover here. Missiles do go out on another Beamstone here, although it does look like they're going to rock PD. The Cork is perhaps too aggressive here for the missiles to hit. Do they get around? They get around. These are command-guided. They needed to maintain a lock. The lock is maintained. The missiles hit, doing pretty significant damage to this, this Keystone here. An SDM is launched into the void. I don't really know what that was being fired at. Slasher Squadron commits onto Crimson. Bunch of Naganatas go out at pretty long range here. Do they stage properly? They do. Coilgun return fire comes out, although Crimson Squadron loses a very significant number of their craft right off the bat here. That being said, they still do have coil guns. Slasher is only equipped with, Yep, Slasher deciding to stay in within range of Scrubbus's liner here. The point defense is going to help defend them. Pretty significant losses from Crimson here. Duke, one of their other 450 liners, getting beamed out in the open here. Takes severe damage. Looks like E-Point was attempted by snipes at some point here, although the ship was killed. This Keystone is going to take return fire from the liner, although this liner is just going to go down here. The Beamstone's already showing how effective they are in this close-range environment. D-Point was attempted, although 2 Beamstones say no to that. The only thing left on the D-Point now is this 450 liner, which is out in the open here. It needs to start rotating to put fire onto this Keystone, but the Keystone's not spotted. It's jamming out the liner. This liner needs to get into cover, or it's just going to get beamed to hell. Ruby Squadron, with the S1 strike committing, looks like they're committing onto Duke's liner here. Very dangerous position for this liner to be in at the moment. Looks like the other liner finally goes down near the E-Point here. Those Beamstones very deadly at this range. Crimson Squadron here building up to 21 craft. It looks like Hunter is going to try and just maintain combat air patrol with that massive squadron out. Flynn moving back around, getting a flank onto this Beamstone. This Beamstone is, although the Beamstone is pointing in the right direction, it looks like the liner was probably detected on its way. Immediately loses some of the front section, although not a whole lot of damage still. The Keystone does get locked. Flynn does start putting 450 downrange on the Keystone. Keystone hits the drive section. Never mind, it gets a pretty bad aim point hitting in this area where there's nothing that it can kill. 450 going out, already hitting the beam, doing significant damage. Beam is out, although there are additional Beamstones in the area. Xenophon already moving the other one in range to help. Crimson Squadron trying to hunt down Slasher here, as Slasher is maintained in the air, still with firing. They fired like all of their Naganatas. Very dangerous position for Slasher to be in without those long-range SDMs. Duke's liner trading fire with this Keystone, getting support from Scrubbus from up top, as Scrubbus comes around over the top here, getting the drop on some of these Keystones, although that being said, there are still Keystones in the area to help out their brethren. A-Point being secured by by OSP here. The Keystones are distracted with the liner. They're unable to deny that. The police frigs begin to move on to the point here. Although that being said, there's another beam. There's too many beams. There's too many beams for OSP to handle here. Although Xenophon's not battle shorting. No, Xenophon breaks line of sight. The pillbox does not give them the line of sight they need to kill this capper. It is drives down. It is severely injured. Will it be able to survive long enough to cap the point? Xenophon's additional Beamstone here puts fire into this MMT, cores it out pretty badly. The liner trying to move back out of range of all of these Beamstones. Is Keystone trying to get into firing arc? It fires! But it's not soon enough. A-Point is captured by OSP right before the ship goes down. It is now a 2-2 cap here, although ANS does still have the points advantage here. Scrubbus's liners wreaking havoc on all these Beamstones that were facing in the wrong direction. Putting Plasma, 250 and 100 mil down on this thing. This thing's beam is already severely damaged. Takes more damage. It is not going to be able to battle short for long. This liner should be able to win this fight. The other one also joining in up above. It has its guns pointing in the wrong direction. Rather unfortunate, although it has managed to core out the beams. No restores on this one. That Beamstone no longer has any effective weapons. E-Point being secured by ANS. A-Point also being secured by ANS as they put a ship on the A-Point here. Although that being said, Flynn's liner is in the area. Should be able to deny it. Hot Rod Squadron and Vampire Squadron engage over here. It looks like Black Bat was hunting down the carriers. They are spotted. ANS knows where the carriers are. Oh, and this liner is incredibly close to where they are as well. This could be big for 1-800 here. Coring yet another Beamstone with the liners up top. This up top flank has been very effective. This beamstone is still effective. It is currently bearing to target, trying to get into range of the liner here and engage it. Scrubbus does have additional liners up here. Scrubbus is putting fire down on the carriers. These things do not have a lot of damage control. If these start taking much damage, they are going to go down here to Scrubbus. Scrubbus, being supported by Hot Rod Squadron, the carrier is not going to be able to get immediate strikes in on these liners. As, yeah, Scrubbus is just going to rush down the carriers. This could be big. A point does get secured by ANS here, though. The liner unable to deny it. D point, however... Oh, whoa. Massive S1 Star 8 strike against the liner here. Chaff doing its job, trying to decoy a lot of them. Lots of chaff goes out. This liner doesn't take a whole lot of damage, and that strike is empty and returning to base. D point being secured by ANS. Where the hell is D point? Up here? Scrubbus got a liner onto the D point. Although these keystones, one of them is beams down, the other one is pretty heavily damaged. The beam is really red. If this liner can rotate fast enough, it can take out the beam before it is able to fire. Snipes trying to beam down this this liner, rushing down the carriers. Although these carriers, the damage is going to start adding up. Yeah, Snipes is just rushing this thing out of its typical position. Checkmate Squadron armed with Spearfish. Looks like they're heading for this keystone here. Going to strike it now that it's out of position. These carriers are going to start taking some pretty heavy damage if those liners were able to maintain their strike. Scrubbus rushing down this keystone here, not letting it recover at all. Its beam is being repaired, but it is under fire, direct fire. And it's getting crossfired by the other liner. Scrubbus using their two different positions to the best of their ability, able to get crossfires out on this keystone here. The other keystone here is still combat effective. Its beam is redded, so it won't be able to battle short, but it is moving up onto a flanking position on this liner. But it fired into a rock! Nope, it was on held fire. It looks like are they battle shorting it at this health? Looks like they are. Damage goes into the drive. Yep, it burns itself out. The beam is now knocked out, and Scrubbus knows exactly where that beamstone is. Snipes is using their other beamstone, getting good damage onto this liner. They do also have another one in the area, also able to strike. Gorgon Squadron trying to defend the fleet carrier. We have a police frig that's found the fleet carrier of ANS, or of OSP here. Although Duke's 450 liner is still healthy and still in the area, able to get 100 mil fire onto that ship before it strikes. Checkmate flanking around here, looking to get a strike onto this keystone here. Loosen the area up for Scrubbus to continue to put pressure on these carriers here. Not a lot of damage going into these things yet, although that being said, having a liner on your carriers is not a good position to be in. Flynn continuing to just flank around the bottom here with their 450 liner, trying to get an opening, trying to find those keystones, kill them before they can deny the A point. Missiles out onto this keystone here. Spearfish, strike, dead keystone. That is another keystone killed, as Xenophon is like the only one with all of their keystones still functional. Yeah, ANS still has a lot of keystones to work with here. They're able to kill the drive on this liner here. That is rather unfortunate for Scrubbus. It is not going to be able to pivot its guns into arc to fire at the keystones now. Their last liner still rushing down the carriers here. 1-800 needs to start pushing their advantage here that the liners opened up and start securing caps. Another one of Snipes' beamstones goes down here. And it looks like the E-cap is going to be attempted here. The capper moving off the point. Does the ship have weapons on it? No, it doesn't. It has a mine layer and a jammer. But the E-point still should be able to go to 1-800 here, as Duke is in the area to put fire into this ship to make sure the cap gets secured. Cascade Squadron, also armed with Spearfish, is sorting as well, looking to finish off, looks like, some of the keystones. Scrubbus pivoting to engage the keystones guarding D-point here, trying to save their other liner, although this thing has taken severe damage at this point. A beam goes out from one of Snipes' keystones here. No restores on this thing. Very small damage control complement as well. These things are super cheap. If Scrubbus is able to grade that beam, this Keystone is no longer going to be combat effective. Flynn moving up back here, spotted by this defending Keystone in the back here, defending OSP's natural. This Keystone is undetected. Flynn does not know it's there. E goes into the hands of 1-800, and Scrubbus continues to put fire onto this Keystone here. Grays out the beam. This thing is no longer combat effective, though that being said, there are still 3 beamstones within very close range of Scrubbus's last liner here. Although they have taken the pressure off of this liner, it's able to get its drives back online, and it is able to start maneuvering out of the area. These beamstones are no longer pointed to it. Although one of them still is, although it's behind a rock. The other one trying to pivot out to engage, although it is spotted. Scrubbus needs to start rotating this liner to start getting fire into those ships before they can start hitting him back. Black Bat is moving their 450 liner into range, into the middle of the map here, maybe trying to put some fire onto the Keystones to help out Scrubbus. Scrubbus, though, does get crossfired by Xenophon's beamstone here. So many beamstones this game, as, yeah, ANS is using their advantage of being able to take these very deadly close-range ships. As Scrubbus's last remaining liner drives down, takes a lot of heavy damage here. It does start getting fire back onto this Keystone here, but I don't think it's going to be enough damage to save the liner. The liner is structure broken, starts taking damage to most of its internal compartments. These carriers that Hunter brought don't have a lot of craft left. But Black Bat still appears to have a good complement of their own. Cascade Squadron diving onto one of these beamstones here, looking to finish it off to secure the D point here. Scrubbus very heavily damaged up here. Able to... Oh, the beam goes red! Scrubbus could be able to recover this liner. Yep, it's still firing back. That thing could gray out that beam if it gets a lucky hit. Gets some hits into the ops steering. Yeah, this beam is still stuck on battle short. Xenophon maybe forgetting to micro this ship. The beams takes more damage. That's only 100 mil. It's not enough to break DT. 450 fire from Duke is going to finish off Herman's beamstone there. One of them is still functional, though, although Tyrant Squadron is approaching the area. They have spotted this Keystone here. Tyrant needs to focus on this one here to make sure that there's no ships left. Duke doing their best to spot ships in the area. Is able to spot this Capper here. This beamstone here is now detected, likely by Tyrant's radar. Scrubbus still pouring fire into this Keystone here. Still unable to gray the beam. The damage threshold of the beam cannon is pretty high, and 100 mil is unlikely to break it. Tyrant takes heavy losses to SDMs here. And E is being resecured by, was being secured by ANS here before this Keystone got hell-bombed. Flynn still trying to move around the map here. It looks like they're trying to pick off the Keystones that have positioned themselves around the map, although they are completely unaware of some of them hiding behind rocks and cover. Spearfish do go out into this Keystone here, managing to take out the beam and knock out its CIC. This ship only has one restore. It will not be able to get that beam back online, as D-Point's effectively secured here by 1-800. Looks like Flynn is trying to engage the carriers, completely unaware there are several beamstones between him and where the carrier is. The Keystones managing to finish off Scrubbus's liner here. Although, did they take out the reactor on this thing? Oh no, they took out the reactor! It has no restores! This Keystone is combat ineffective. Hang on, how many combat effective Keystones does ANS still have left? None there. Snipeses are all defanged. Looks like only 4, and one of them is, and some of them are pretty heavily damaged. Yeah, ANS is running out of assets here. The Keystones are not surviving all that well when under direct fire, and although they've given 1-800 heavy losses, 1-800 still should have the assets here to really kind of deal with them if they manage to play their cards right. Flynn is still flanking around the map here. Xenophon potentially moving another one of their keystones to help out with that. Hot Rod getting strikes out on this police frig. Trying to open up the path for one of Flynn's cappers to get onto the A point here. Does it have bomb follow-up? It does. This thing has no restores. Its reactor is overloading. They need to scram that thing or this thing's going to explode. It does not have the repair speed to fix that. There's now nothing overlooking the A point. Both of these keystones have looked away to deal with Flynn's liner. Dagger being secured by ANS here. Looks like one of the cappers steps onto the point here, although it is in range of the Duke's 450 liner. It does take a couple bomb hits too. This thing only has a basic CIC, no restores. Does have an aux steering that'll help, but Black should be able to, not Black, Duke should be able to deny this with 100 mil 450. Atlas going into the hands of 1-800 here. Nothing to deny it. The police frig's knocked out. The keystone gets killed by the bombers. 3 combat effective keystones left. They are dropping like flies here. Flynn's 450 liner has managed to flank around the map here. There are still some keystones in the area to try and kill it, but with the 450 already pointing in the right direction, I don't think these keystones will be able to do enough damage to it. D point does go into the hands of ANS here. Duke unable to deny it with the liner, although the liner is moving on to the point to cap it. Fencer Squadron is, Sarh S1s, I believe, trying to hit this liner here, make sure it never caps the point. Aura Squadron, is it going for the, That is a lot of chaff dropped by this this liner here. Flak as well. Should be able to clean up that strike quite nicely here. Atlas being secured by OSP here. Nothing to defend it. This police frig is going to detonate. Unfortunate for ANS here. This 450 liner is very dangerously close to this keystone here. Xenophon does recognize that they have a proper ambush here. Could be able to kill this thing. Both sides heavily bled on assets here, although Black Bat does still have quite a lot of craft left compared to Hunter by the looks of things. Is this keystone going to pop out? The keystone is going to pop out. The liner fires 450 at the carrier. It's going to be on reload when that keystone pops out. Very unfortunate for Flynn here. Flynn might be able to mission kill this this carrier, though. Yeah, that's a lot of 450. Takes out the big hangar. The pads are still functional. There goes a large pad, although it's not really needed considering that there are no bombers on this thing. No restores either on this carrier as it's going to start taking some heavy damage from the 450. Although Flynn is going to get jumped here by this beamstone. Very unfortunate for him, but Dagger being resecured by OSP here as Duke moves their liner into position. It does get beamed. One of Xenophon's last remaining beamstones here does get a good shot onto the liner here, although that beam is not really able to be burnt through as it is already redded out. I believe it's already been restored once this game, and it's immediately grayed by what I can only assume to be HEHC goes into it. The beam goes out into Flynn's liner here, immediately hits the drive section. This thing does still have 2 drives, so it does have a little bit of redundancy. Flynn needs to pivot their guns onto firing at this beamstone, or they're just going to get obliterated here. There goes one drive. The other one very heavily damaged. Flynn manages to kill one of the carriers here. D point and B point going into the hands of ANS. The keystone that was guarding B, too busy with Flynn's liner. As Flynn begins to roll the liner to engage the keystone. D-point is being contested by this police frig here. No, this spy frig throwing itself onto the point to try and keep the point from being taken. Although the 100 mil should be able to clean up this thing pretty quickly here. Basic CIC, no restores. B-point trying to be denied by Voodoo Squadron, but the ship has chaff. The Sarh misses. Joker Squadron trying to commit onto Flynn's liner here, although it does have flak, it does have chaff. And the last, only 1 combat effective keystone left as Xenophon's last keystone gets its beam knocked out. There is still one. It appears to be hunting around for the carrier in the back line, maybe trying to go for C. There are sprint mines on the point. This thing has no defenders. If it is unlucky with its chaff, it might be able to just get killed by those mines if it's not careful. What an incredible match this has been. The all-beamstone strategy being just systematically taken out by ANS's superior, or OSP's superior firepower here. Flynn's liner pretty heavily damaged here, but still fully restorable. Hunter losing a carrier here, not a whole lot of assets left, only Star H strikes really remaining out of them, and the chaff that OSP has on their ships should be more than enough to really deal with it. Keystone gets a beam on the fleet carrier! The fleet carrier, oh no, Drive's knocked out, Hangar knocked out. There is nothing back here to destroy that beamstone, as it looks like Black Bats is going to get knocked out here. Malice Squadron rushing in with the KBU-22s in an attempt to save the carrier. Xenophon is not battle shorting this thing, as it starts taking return fire from Duke's liner here, recognizing that they need to protect their teammates at all costs. That carrier is essential for 1-800 strategy here to win this fight. No PD on this Keystone means that these bombs will likely get through if Malice launches at the last possible moment. D-Point, the ship on D-Point no longer being fired at by Black Bat, or not Black Bat, Duke, recognizing that they need to prioritize this Keystone to protect their carrier. The bombs go out, no defenders, those hit right in the front, beam is knocked out. That is the last effective combat effective beamstone defanged. There is one left. It has its beam restored, although this liner is pointing directly towards it, and that beam is already heavily damaged. I don't think ANS can come back from this. They've just been bled of assets so completely. Another Star H strike into this liner here. Chaff does go out, and there are only like 4 ships in the attacking squadron. Not enough at all to really deal with this craft. As Duke is going to have no problem finishing off this Keystone here with the 450. LIMOS calling it GG, recognizing that they have nothing on the board to contest the 4 cap, or the 5 cap that 1-800 is about to get, as it is now 1-1. We are on to the final match on Yukon to decide the fate of the entire tournament. What an incredible comeback from 1-800 that match, able to just systematically pick off the beamstones there. The beamstones constantly being forced out of position by 1-800's rapid repositioning with their liners. Yeah, the rush from Scrubbers over the map, forcing a lot of those beamstones to completely break out of their defensive positions and rush them down, making them easy pickings for the carrier and other liners that OSP had. Incredible team play from 1-800 there. Very impressive. The beamstones do rack up quite a lot of damage, able to severely damage a lot of 1-800's assets there, but none of them, yeah, no PD on a lot of the Keystones too, makes them very, very vulnerable to carrier strikes, as we saw there. Once Black Bat got combat error, air superiority over Hunter, was just able to just continuously keep striking the beamstones until they were pretty much all gone.